Hey there, I'm Keenan Fry and you're watching the Acid Drip. Alright, so today's video is interesting because it's related to an assignment I have. So I'm currently in Special Ed 757 with Professor Ting from San Francisco State University, and we have an assignment to basically pick a topic and write an essay about it. So I've picked a topic about the ECC. So I'm going to briefly introduce the ECC to you. The ECC is the Expanded Core Curriculum. And it's basically 9 points that are meant to supplement the education and development of individuals with disabilities. So, brief history, you've got FAPE, which is Free Appropriate Public Education. You got IDEA, which is the Individuals with Disabilities Act. Now, these two coalesce together to create a sort of framework for the government supports that are supposed to exist to encourage the development of special needs individuals. It doesn't just extend to people who are blind or visually impaired. As I've told you before, I work in special ed and I predominantly am working with individuals with intellectual disabilities. So IDEA and FAPE cover, the whole gauntlet. But in this particular assignment, I'm going to talk to you about how extracurricular activities empower individuals to fully engage in all 9 tenets of the ECC. So for starters, I'm going to identify the 9 tenets for those of you who are unfamiliar. Compensatory access, sensory efficiency, assistive technology, O&M, that's orientation mobility, that's my credential, independent living skills, social interaction, rec and leisure, career education, and self-determination. Those are the 9 areas of the ECC. Now the important thing to understand is that these areas that are sort of supplemental to the primary education that a student receives through the high school, K through 12, and in some instances post-secondary, which would be age 20, which would be 18 to 22. These are sort of supplemental tenets that empower the individual to live a more meaning and fulfilling life. Now, I want to take that and escalate that a little bit because, in my opinion, the goal of any teacher should be to empower their students to become citizens. Okay? And there's a difference between citizens and civilians. A citizen is an active participant in a society. They have agency and they are able to orient themselves in a forthright manner in this world such that they can align themselves to an interest or goal that arrests their attention, and then they have the means of pursuing it, and that they have a means of fulfillment from the actual act of pursuing it, that they have the skills to do so and the necessary strata and support to do so. And I believe that the beginning phase of this development, it really starts early on in an individual's life, as early as you can. That's why early intervention is so critical. And I believe that it's reinforced by extracurriculars, such as participation in things like jazz band or in wrestling. And these are 2 sports or activities that may be considered unconventional, especially for a person who's blind or visually impaired to participate in. For example, how can a blind person read sheet music? Well, there's adaptive technology. That's part of the ECC, is offering them compensatory access so that they can participate in these events. How does a blind person wrestle? Well, they have slightly different rules so that they are in constant body contact with the opponent, and then because they're in that constant contact, they have the means to grapple because they can actually detect where the opponent is. So these are all things that I'm going to talk about in the course of my essay, but I just wanted to briefly introduce the essay not only to the people who are watching this from my class, but to the people who are on my channel who are used to seeing art content and music content, but are now being more exposed to my career path as an O&M instructor. I'm going to also be linking this to some other content, so stick around and we'll hop into those ideas next. I'm Keenan Fry, and thank you for your time. Visit theaciddrip.com for more content.